All right, I think we are live. Angela, are you with us?
Hang on. Let me it's it's putting me on the wrong camera.
Oh, okay, no worries. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I know a lot of you have been messaging us, really excited to hear more about what we're going to be talking about today. I know several of you know Angela already, but if not, we'll do a quick introduction of her before we get into it. And yeah, I'm really excited to be on this live. It's been a while, honestly, since I've gone live here on my profile. I've just been doing mostly videos and stuff and stories. So excited to be back here with you guys. As you pop in, drop a comment in the chat. Let us know you are here. Um, and yeah, without further ado, Angela, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself? Like, what do you do, and how long have you been a health coach?
So, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm Angela Brown. My expertise is the thyroid. I struggle with hypothyroidism myself, so it's kind of what got me into it. I became an FDN. Next month will be 8 years, and I basically started honing in on my niche probably about, I would say, 4 years ago. And after I joined Kristen is when things really took off. I will say that's definitely was kind of the big game changer for me when I started doing that.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you here. I know you've been such an inspiration to so many other health coaches and functional practitioners. And yeah, we're celebrating a huge milestone for you. I remember when you Voxered me about it. I was just like to the moon excited for you. So Angela hit her entire 2022 revenue goal by mid-September. So like 9 months, and she hit the goal, and she's already on to more. So do you want to share what that huge win was?
Yeah, so my goal was so last year I hit 100 by the end of the year. So my goal this year was to hit 150 in sales by the end of the year, and I hit it in September. So and right now I'm about like it's what are we, mid-October, and I'm like at 180. So yeah, I'm like so excited. So definitely didn't, and it was funny too because like the beginning of the year, I had some really big months kind of in the beginning of the year, then had some like smaller months, and then all of a sudden I had some big months again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm I think I might hit my goal like long before December. I was like super excited. And when I started doing, I knew I was probably pretty close, and so that's why I'm like, I might actually do my like numbers at the and every month. I do my numbers for the month, and then I do my numbers for the year. And so when I started hitting the numbers, I was like, oh my gosh, I was shaking because I couldn't wait to tell Kristen. That was like the person I wanted to tell. I told my husband second. I was so excited to tell her because I was like, I can't believe this.
Oh, well, I'm honored to be the first to be notified. But yeah, it was so exciting. I see several of you are jumping on, so drop a hello in the chat so I know that you're here. If you guys have questions as we go along for Angela or myself, definitely let us know. But yeah, I'd love to just like backtrack for a minute, Angela. So, how was it that you initially? We've been working together for a while. So how was it that you initially came across us, and what about like our approach and our programs interested you aside from next to others?
So Kristen's an FDN, so that's how I knew Kristen, just from being an FDN, being in the FDN support group in Facebook. And the thing that actually was the one thing that I'm like, I probably need to check her out, was when you posted about your Forbes article and being featured in that. I was like, something's here. I need to check this out more. So that's kind of what like triggered me to go, I think I need to check this out, because I knew Kristen was in the functional health space, but she's like thriving in business. And I'm like, there's definitely something here. So when I started looking over everything, at that time I did, I kind of had just come off in a mastermind group. I had worked with a couple of coaches, which had worked quite well for me, but it like didn't like put me over the edge. And I felt like I was kind of to the point where I'm like, business was definitely growing, but I didn't really know where to go next. It was still small and I wanted to go bigger. So I had the foundations, but I'm like, I didn't know what to do next. So when I started looking at Kristen's, the whole program basically, um, the thing that stood out for me, first of all, there's so much one-on-one attention. So yes, as an inside a group, absolutely, but there's also so much one-on-one attention with it. But what really drove me was her own experience with it. So she's a functional health coach herself. I had worked with a coach who was not in the health coaching space at all, but was a business coach. It did not work very well because could not relate to like speaking as a health coach and doing sales and doing marketing and all that. And so I felt like things were so relatable with Kristen and even her team, because she's in that, first of all, health coaching space, but functional health coaching space, which is very different than just, traditional health coaching. In my opinion, I see things, we see things a little bit differently. And so that what really drove me to Kristen, and just the individuality. I felt like there was so much, you could get so much one-on-one attention. It wasn't just you're in this group and you're just going to learn and watch these modules. There's so much coaching. There's so many live calls. You have interaction with other people, which I've met some amazing people along the way, and I've got to be friends with some amazing people inside the group. And I loved that part of it because I could learn so much. And I what I still find is some of the questions I have are the same questions everybody else has. And so you never feel uncomfortable asking questions. Pretty much everyone has similar questions. They just might come out different ways. But I just like that she was so relatable. It was so relatable because she'd been in these shoes. She's done this before with having a functional health coach business. And I felt like who better than to help my own business than someone who's been in that.
Yeah. And I felt the same way too. Like back when I was a practicing functional health coach, I had joined generic, so to speak, business programs, and they were great. But yeah, there's just a lot of translation that you had to do, like everything from the sales to the marketing to how you work with your clients. It's just different in the health space. I think it's just, yeah, it's different than a lot of other coaching offers. And it just goes a lot deeper. There's more sensitive topics and information and things like that, there's a lot of nuances that I think it's just hard for others who haven't really been in it to fully understand.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt. And that's what I knew. And so I worked with Kristen last year. Our time had come to an end, and I was working with another coach from some advice from someone that I should not have taken advice from. And it was a disaster. And literally within like a month after that, I'm like, I have to go back to Kristen. I'm like, I knew it. And so, I had actually paid for the whole coaching program with this other coach, and I just lost my money. I didn't even care because I'm like, I need to go back to Kristen. And it was, which was so funny because I started back with Kristen then in January of this year. And I'm not kidding you. It was like within the first week of me starting back with Kristen, I had like new clients coming in and calls coming in. It was like the universe was telling me like all these things were happening. And January was like one of my craziest months. And I was like, okay, this is the universe telling me like, I know I made the right decision here. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. I just knew in my heart, I knew in my gut where I was supposed to be.
Well, I so appreciate that. And, I don't take it lightly when any single client joins our programs, because like we're so intentional with who we have join the program and that we really believe in what you do, because like you said, we're so there with you. Like we're literally an extension to your team to a degree. And like we are in it and want you to succeed as much as you do. And yeah, I remember you sharing with me that when you were in our first program last year, you had like pretty quickly gone up to 30K months, and then it sort of dipped back down after you were kind of taking a pause. And then like that first month after being back in, you were like right back up at the 30K, right?
Right. It was literally right back up. It was like, January was a 30K month for me. Which, January is always a time where it's like New Year's resolution time and all this stuff. So I used to think that it was that, but I looked back at my books and I'm like, I haven't always had good January. So I was like, no, this was an exception. And then even like February was still a pretty big month for me. But yeah, one of my biggest months was January of this year for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so happy for you. What would you say are like some of the biggest things that you felt like, I guess initially when you started working with us, that like really helped to lock things in for you and helped you to kind of quickly go up to, 10, 15, 30K months?
So I think that, and I've been in other coaching programs. Kristen, like everything is so well rounded. Like there's not an area that you don't hit. There's not an area that you don't talk about. So I think it was just having the culmination of everything. If I had a question with something, I could get the answer in between either asking you or the amount of information, the PDFs, the videos that you get, it's unbelievable. It's like you always have something to reference. And if there isn't one, like literally Kristen just the other day, I was like asking about a checklist for something and she's like, oh, if we don't have one, I'll just make one for you. Like that's just how she is, because you know that like my brain operates that way. I when I see things visual, it works like that. You always have access to stuff like that. But I think just the organization and knowing, even just knowing that I'm always going to have that support. I'm always going to have the question answered. And if it's not there, you're going to find it or you're going to do something like create a list. There's always that area that I feel like no matter what, it's getting hit, no matter what is being talked about. And then, having the additional trainings like pop-up trainings and things like that. I just think like there's no area that's not hit. Every area is checked off the list. Like there's nothing really missing. And you go so much into not just like as a practice like client retention, things like that, but like the marketing side of it, the sales side of it. The sales side of it is probably the part that I had zero experience with. I always thought of myself like I was terrible at it. And you're so good at talking about it, how to handle it, how to manage it, what to do, post sales call, like all of the above. And that's like an area that I didn't have any information on. So I think the sales part of it is probably an area that I think is one of the biggest things that you share that a lot of other spaces, a lot of other health coaching, a lot of business coaching things don't share. And again, it's so relatable because you've been in the health coaching industry. So it's so relatable, like the words that you use and, all of the above. Like she even does like a comment to client scripts, like all that stuff. Like you're not going to get that in a lot of places. And it's not going to be as relatable because like, again, coming from that functional health coach background, I just think it's just genius. And it's like gold for us as coaches. For like, we don't, I don't know that much about marketing. I didn't know much about sales and all that. And not only that, but I didn't realize how much importance there was in it. Like I kind of always blew that off. It was always like on the back burner. I never thought about it. And you actually, like for me, thinking about sales, thinking about marketing, like I would have like wanted to stick a fork in my eye to think about it. Now it's like, oh, it's no big deal. You make it like fun, but you make it like almost easy. That now it's like no big deal for me to sit down and write. I used to like dread it, and now it's just like it just comes so natural and easy. And sales calls, like I would be literally sitting here sweating for a sales call and like nervous and just like wanted to vomit. And now I'm just like, yes, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to talk to this person just because I'm going to be of service of her regardless of what happens on the call. So it's just like the genuineness, like you're real with everything. And you give us so many tips and things that make us feel more comfortable with our own businesses that I feel like you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. And I could totally relate to the sales piece. I think that is a really big thing that in my experience too, like a lot of groups just aren't really touching on, like they either specialize just in marketing or just in this thing. And yeah, the sales piece is a really big thing that I think a lot of people, and this was myself included back when I was practicing FDN, is it was like an afterthought. It was like I had to go through the pain of like all of these, sales calls that weren't closing and all of that frustration to be like, I think I need some sales training, right? Because from like what you get, when you finish any sort of health coaching school is typically they'll give you like some sort of, basic, like here's like 7 questions to ask, but they're so surface level, they're not getting deep enough. And so it's all just like brain based and not really like dropping them into like what they really want and like helping them to really feel empowered around that, you know? And so I think that's a really big, that was like one of my biggest things that literally propelled my business forward when I was an FDN. And, you know, when I was looking at building out the health and wellness business school, I was like, it can't not have sales, right? And kind of the analogy I bring about is like, you know, as health coaches, we look at a client's health holistically, right? You don't just look at one area. You know that all the systems, organs, symptoms, everything has a connection, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with business, and same thing really with everything, right? It's like it's all interconnected. We can't pretend that certain things are just happening in isolation. Like your marketing leads into your sales, and your sales are impacted by how good your marketing is, and if you're getting qualified leads and whatnot. And then your sales depends on how good your program is developed out and how well you can speak it and all of that, right? Like every area of your business. And then of course, like the energetic side and the human design side that we also get into, like that also plays a huge role in how you show up with all of those things. So, you know, when I was looking at building out our programs, it was like, yeah, we can't not include these things, right? And like, how do we really bring them together for you guys so that you can really see like how they flow together? And like, you know, in the mastermind that you're in right now, Embodied, really helping you guys to like pull that all together, right? And like really, for lack of a better term, embody that, right? Of like, this is how you are and this is how you operate, and then customizing that for how you are and your human design and how you show up and what you need.
Yeah. And the human design piece was huge for me because I'm a projector and perfectionist, big time perfectionist. And it's been very interesting and eye-opening for me. But it's also been like a breath of fresh air because I'm like, I'm a projector. It's okay to like sit down and literally not do anything.
Yeah.
And now it's interesting because like, you know, when I was first in this business, I you know, my background, I was a personal trainer and a physical therapist. I worked a lot of hours, nonstop, didn't really get many breaks. And I felt accomplished, like I had to do that. So when I started running my own business, I literally was like, okay, I got to be doing something like all the time. And, you know, learning my human design was very eye-opening for me because I was like really getting exhausted. And I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to like keep running my business like this and work all these hours constantly, even on the weekends, and keep doing this. And then when I started learning more about human design and related to my business, I'm like, because I'm not supposed to be doing that. It's so cool because I set my own hours the way I want to. I'm probably working way less hours than I was. Well, I'm definitely know like when I was working my full-time physical therapy job, I'm working way less hours. Definitely taking time off whenever I want, scheduling whenever I want, and making more money doing that and loving my job so much more. So it's very interesting, especially the human design stuff. I had never really done anything with that until I started working inside your group, inside Embodied, and I'm like, this is huge. It really is a big piece, and it made me feel so much better. Like it gave me that permission as a perfectionist. Like it's okay to not work 8 hours today or 10 hours today. If you work 2, it's fine. And I don't feel guilty for it. I used to, but I don't anymore. And the more that I've taken that on, the more I actually have accomplished more, the more that I've, you know, been able to get things done that I want to get done and done well with them versus just like throwing things together because I felt like I had to be working. And even like taking on more clients and stuff like that. Like it's just been so much easier to manage that.
I think that's just such an important point that you just brought up too around the, you know, sort of like the hustle culture and the, you know, burnout. And that's just something that I feel like, especially in the health and wellness space, I see even more than in other coaching industries is the amount of burnout. And I know if part of it just has to do with like, you know, where we're carrying, like working with a lot of clients with some very heavy conditions and they're scared and there's a lot, you know, in that, but also like, you know, we're givers, right? And like, we just want to be there and give all the things and do all the things. But like, ultimately that's to our demise. And then what's the point, right? It's like, if you ultimately burn out and then you can't run your business anymore, then you kind of squashed your passion and you're not able to help anyone else who, you know, was ready to work with you. And so it doesn't really serve anyone. And so really, like, if you think about the goal of entrepreneurship is exactly what you said, like the freedom, the flexibility, the money, but like 90% of entrepreneurs never reach that because they become like their worst boss, right? Like working like crazy, never shutting off, not having boundaries, being so hard on themselves, not taking a pause to celebrate their wins and everything. And it's why I ask you all the time when you share wins, like, how are you celebrating? Because
Yeah.
it's so important, right? And I think really,
And I used to never, I mean, I honestly, until I met you, I never celebrated a win. I mean, I was just like, oh, it's just my business, big deal.
yeah.
Now it's like every single little thing. Like I updated my thyroid program. I updated that like a month ago, which was a lot of work. Ended up being way more work than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, I am celebrating this. I'm like, and I would have never done that. Like,
Yeah.
not at all. And it's like every little thing now I celebrate it, whether it's a celebration or a big one. I'm like, I celebrate it because I'm like, this was actually a pretty big accomplishment. So it's really cool too when you can take that step back and really look at your business more. Cause like for me, you know, I am a perfectionist and it took me a lot I hired a virtual assistant, more recently. And now she's also my support coach, which a couple of years ago, I would have never done that. Cause I'm like, I gotta be in control. Cause of my perfectionism, it was like just the biggest breath of fresh air. But like Kristen helped walk me through that. Like, how do I begin the process? How do I hire someone? What task do I divvy out that's going to make me feel comfortable? Like I wouldn't have been very comfortable with doing that on my own, but Kristen definitely helped me with that. And like I said, I would have never had even the idea of having someone do that for me. And it's been amazing. I have the most amazing VA and support coach that I could ask for. And like I said, I probably would have never done that had it not been for Kristen just encouraging me and making me realize, even for my human design, like you can't do it all. Like possible. And it's been so freeing. Because I mean, I was getting up at like 4:30 in the morning and starting work. And you know, working on and off like all day long and have dinner and then still working and doing things, you know, on my phone till sometimes 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I literally was like looking at my to-do list, like I have to get these all done.
That's not sustainable.
Yeah. And first of all, some of it was like, does it really need to get done?
Right.
No, it didn't. Second of all, some of it was like, and I shouldn't be doing this. I should be having a VA do this, a support coach doing this or whatever. But yeah, it was not going to be sustainable. I knew I'm going to end up hating this. I'm going to burn out. It's just not feasible. And what's crazy is I was making less than what I'm making now. I'm working less and making way more, and I have help. I'm like, I mean, that's like the perfect scenario that I wanted. And I'm like, finally it's here. So.
Yeah. And that's honestly one of my biggest joys is to see you guys, you know, bring on somebody else in your team and help to alleviate that burden, because it is really stressful to be like, I have to do all this stuff and all this other stuff. And you're basically wearing every hat in your company. And especially as you grow and you get busier just in your coaching practice alone, like you're going to run out of time. Like you said, it's like waking up earlier, staying up later, like you're just pushing the clock and ultimately getting less sleep. And we know what less sleep does, right? So it's like helping you guys, especially like really embody what you know as health and wellness practitioners of like valuing your sleep, keeping stress down, being reasonable with your schedule, like all of those things, so you can truly walk the walk and talk the talk, right? And yeah, have that ease and have you focus on your zone of genius and your other team members focused on their zone of genius. And that's exactly why that happened for you, why your revenue grew, because you were out of doing stuff that you didn't like doing anyways, right? And now you're solely focused on what you love. And that's just like, that opens things up and you're happier in your business and people feel that from you. So it kind of has a ripple effect.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I you know, there was definitely parts of my business that I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot stand this. I don't want to do this anymore. And now that I have, you know, a VA and even, you know, she's my support coach too, doing those things, it's been so amazing, because now it's like those were energy drainers for me. And I didn't realize how much of energy draining it was for me. And I'm like, the more that I like took those things off my plate, I was like, now I can actually be here for my clients. Now I can actually do the things that I like. I mean, I like going on Instagram and Facebook and talking and posting and doing those things. And I like writing the content, but like making graphics, nope, not my thing. Don't want to do it. Don't like doing it. And it was like draining for me. I would spend hours trying to create graphics. I'm like, is this really necessary to spend these hours doing this? I'm like, I don't need to do this. And now I have a VA who does it in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, that's why I have like that, because that's not my zone of genius and it sucks all the energy out of me. So it's super cool to start really honing in on your zone of genius, but like, especially keeping my human design in mind as well. Like those were not my thing. And I should.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
definitely helped me like preserve energy for like what I actually want to do and what I'm good at.
Awesome. So glad to hear that. And yeah, for everyone watching, if you guys have any questions for Angela or I, definitely drop it in the chat, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. But yeah, we're really just talking about, how Angela was able to, like, what were the kind of the missing pieces in her business that got her, up to basically hitting her entire year's revenue goal of 150K in just the first 9 months, and how she's already up at 180K and probably going to hit multiple six figures this year. Probably going to be at 200K at this rate, if not more, which is amazing. And yeah, it's about doing less of everything, offboarding that and delegating it to others, and stepping into your power with the sales and the marketing piece to attract the right clients, and ultimately to really just align everything in your business to your human design. And that's why that is always layered into like literally everything. It's really the DNA of our program. And not to, for those of you who are watching and maybe new to this, it's not necessarily just like from like a woo-woo perspective. We really bring it down to earth too, of like, here's literally who you are. This is like what you're designed to be.
Right.
And let's work with that. Like that's like your raw ingredients, right? And then let's see what business things to layer onto that. So like what number of hours is best for your energy to be working per day? What are you not, supposed to be really doing in your business? And that can help you to know who to delegate, or how does your sales process need to differ based on your human design, or your marketing and how you attract clients, like all of that stuff. So we really kind of start with you in mind, of like, who are you? Like, what's your human design? What's your lifestyle? What else do you have going on in the world? What are your goals? What are your values? What's your personality? And then we can layer on literally any business strategy you need, whether it's marketing, sales, team, pricing, anything in between. But we're not one of those programs that like forces you into like, this is the only way that you can ever make money. You have to follow this, cookie cutter thing. Like, we don't do that because it doesn't work. We're gonna start with you and customize it all, and then help you to build everything around that. And I think that's why our clients get the results that they do and stick with us for as long as they do. On average, our clients stay with us for 2 or more years, because we're constantly evolving, and we're evolving with them as they grow as well.
Yeah, which is totally true. And it's like, even like thinking about the human design portion too. I mean, it came down to like doing sales call with your human design, doing follow-up with your human design, whether you should do a group program or a course, like you name it, like everything you can think of is talked about like according to your human design. And it was so cool for me because it was all stuff that I was like, kind of think that this is how like I would be better with this, but I always question things. And it was so cool when I, figured out my human design and all that stuff. It was so cool for me because it was like, yeah, you should not be doing, because I mean, there would be days I do like 6-7 client calls a day, and I would be exhausted. My brain does not operate that way. And I do not do that anymore. The most I do is 3 a day. The most, max, never go over 3. And I don't go over the most hours. I go like sitting down and literally working straight through. The most hours would be 3, maybe 2. And I mean, I would feel like I was one of those, again, perfectionists, where I would sit at my computer, and I'd be like, between client calls and then doing whatever work, 8-9 hours, I felt like I had to sit there.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't do that. So it was really cool. It's really cool when you pull in that human design part of it. That totally has been a super game changer for me, and just feeling like I have that permission. And again, like I said, now I know like I'm working way less hours, not killing myself, not working in the evenings after dinner. I'm actually enjoying like time with my family and my husband. And on the weekends, I don't do anything anymore. I mean, I would work all weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I would do calls with clients on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah. So it never ended.
No, it never ended. So now I take one day off during the week where I have 0 calls, and it's just whatever I want to do. If I want to do business, I can. If I want to go get a massage or go to the spa, I can. That's my day. Like, I pick whatever I want to do. And then the other days is when I stick in all my other work. And then Saturday and Sundays, I am off. And it's been amazing. And so freeing to know that like I can actually structure my business this way and still like make a really good living doing it, and help them, for that matter, because I feel like I have so much more energy now to give to my clients.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like that's literally like the entrepreneurial dream. And so for any of you who are watching who maybe you feel like you're really far away from that, the reality is like it can be really far away if you're really not sure the pieces to put in. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that we specialize in is really helping you to figure out like what that path looks like for you, and then fiercely being there and lovingly to support you in getting to that place so you can figure that, that out so that you can have that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have one of the, I consider her like one of the best, if not the best human design coaches in the entire world. She like literally coaches celebrities, and she's a personal friend of mine as well. I worked with her for over 6 months personally. Learning my own human design was a game changer in my business, my relationships, my personal life, like everything, you name it. And so I asked her one day, I was like, would you be open to doing some coaching inside of my mastermind? And she was like so excited about that. She has that personal passion for health and wellness too. So she's been amazing. Her and I co-lead like almost all of our calls, our virtual retreats and everything. So she's amazing.
She is amazing. I learned so much from her. She's incredible. I just did a call with her. What was that, last week that I did with her? And it's like, it's so crazy because I'm like, I constantly learn something new from her too. I'm like, what else is it about human design? And there's another thing. So it's like
so many layers.
There's so many layers, which I just, you can go on like Google and look up what's your human design, put in your stuff, but I have no idea what that stuff means. I couldn't tell you. I didn't understand any of it. So like there's so many layers to it, and it's so cool with her because she will just be like, oh no, we're gonna talk about this. I'm like, okay, didn't even know that. So
yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I see a question from Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Good to have you on.
Hi,
a question around delegating, deciding what you can relinquish creative control of, protective of your tone and messaging. Yeah, I mean, without going into a ton of detail right now, like basically it's a component of like being intentional with who you hire to make sure it's somebody who can do that first and foremost, setting clear expectations up front, and then the onboarding and ongoing management of that person to make sure that whatever it is they're taking on, it kind of sounds like you're talking more about like writing and like marketing maybe. But if that's the case, there's definitely like a process that you would put in place, which, we teach our clients around how to do that. So you bring in the person the right way the first time, onboard them the right time or the right way the first time, and then you have regular checkpoints and kind of like checks and balances to make sure that they're on the right path and that you guys have a healthy feedback loop and everything, so that they're always empowered to do the best and constantly improve, because they want that, right? They ultimately want to be doing the right job for you, and that you're feeling like they're taking on more and more and able to just kind of run with things more over time. So it really just is a mix of like proper hiring and proper management. So hopefully that answers that question. Well, I know we're just about out of time, Angela. So the last thing I would love to ask you is, like, what would you tell someone who's kind of in a similar place that you were when you came to us, of like doing relatively well, but burning yourself out, wanting more, kind of reaching a cap, not really sure exactly what it was that you needed to really get things to that next level? What would you tell someone like that who is maybe thinking of joining our program?
So I think like for me, especially, like I said, when I saw your article about Forbes and stuff like that, I think the big thing to keep in mind with it, first of all, I said this before too, Kristen's so relatable. Like, it's so relatable because she's come from that background. And for me as a health coach, I wanted that, she has history with marketing. She has, history in the business world, but also with health coaching. Like, the meshing of it was like gold for me. I mean, that like totally completely sold me into like, this is so perfect for me. So I never had the point where I was like kind of dragging, like, well, do I want to do it? Do I want to? It was like instant. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm in. Like, it was almost instant because of, I could see that meshing and how much there was for her to offer and the program to offer. That it was like, it was a done deal, like immediately for me. But, especially if you're like on the fence, just think about it like this. For my business, I've done a lot of investing in my business to get to where I am. There's no way, I know without a doubt, there's no way that I would be able to work the minimal hours that I'm working, take off on the weekends, and make the money I'm making if I had not invested in my business. Mm-hmm. The investment in your business is so important. So I invest in business coaching. I invest in, I'm doing extra like courses on like health courses, basically thyroid courses, things like that. But the investment in having a business coach, I'm always going to have a business coach. I know I'm always going to have Kristen, because the investment in it to me is such an important piece of it. I know I would never have gotten where I'm at now, and I wouldn't be able to work the way I'm working and make what I'm making and actually help clients the way I'm helping them, had it not been for me actually investing in my business. The investment in the business to me is so, so important. That like I would always recommend investment in your business. And to me, it's like, it's a no-brainer when you're trying to decide, especially if you're like, should I go with this coach? Should I go with Kristen or whatever? Because the meshing of it, I mean, being able to have someone who has that background with health coaching, but also business stuff, like it's a no-brainer. And to me, I think it's just that I can't say it enough. Investing in your business is just huge. I will always do it because like I said, there's no way I would be where I am had I not. And it was so interesting to me because I had, when I first started my business, which was 8 years ago, the last thing I would have ever thought about was spending money on my business. I'm like, well, I don't have the money. I'm trying to make money. I had done it a long time ago because I'm like, oh my gosh, my business would have taken off probably a long time ago had I invested in my business. So I cannot talk highly enough about it. Like I just think it's just such an important piece.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I also had the same kind of thought process when I was growing my functional health coaching business too. I think it was within like the first 6 months of business that I hired my first coach, and then, another and another, and I renewed with the ones that were really working with me. And there was never a time that I really didn't have a coach.
Yeah.
And I really equate it to like you're collapsing time, right? I mean, just like what you guys all do in health coaching is you're collapsing the time their clients, that's going to take them to learn about what's going on with their health and to start to address it, right? And same thing in your business. Like if you don't have a business background or haven't gone through a business training, just like your clients haven't gone through health training or have a health background, you need to bring somebody else in who knows that. Otherwise, I mean, you can totally go on that long, drawn out, frustrating trial and error path, right? But at the same time, that's frustrating when we watch our health coaching clients trying to do that, right? We're like, if you just stepped into this and if you could just let me help you, you would feel so much better, so much faster, right? And so business coaching is really no different than that. And so whether like you're struggling with, consistent revenue or with growth or just feeling aligned in your business or alive with it again or wherever, definitely reach out to us. I know the year is coming to a close pretty quickly, but we are still opening up spots through the rest of the year to join our mastermind. It's a very intimate group of practitioners like Angela who are really at a place of scale in their business. And we also have other programs that meet you where you're at in your phase of business. So if you're more at the beginner stage, or if you're more advanced, we have programs to meet you at every level. So I believe if I did this right, if I set it up right, there should be a link somewhere down below here. If you guys do want to book a call with me and chat more about what that looks like to work with my team and I, or if you just have some questions before you do that, don't hesitate to send me a DM. Like I am fully and unconditionally here for you guys. Like I just want you guys to win. Like the world needs health coaches now more than ever before. Way too many people are sick and it's just unacceptable. And you guys have a huge gift to give. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be reaching a lot more people and having the life that you really want to live in exchange for that. So I'm here for you guys, no matter if you end up working with us or not, but reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, if you guys are watching the replay and have any follow-up questions here for Angela or I, feel free to drop it in the comments. Thank you, Angela, so much for your time. This is amazing and so inspiring.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And I just wanted to say too, like Kristen brought up a good point too about like in the program, there's like all levels. So even if you're like a newbie or you're way more advanced, like you don't have to worry about being like feeling like uncomfortable. Like, oh, there's so many people that are so far in their business and newbie. There's different levels. So it's so nice because, and the thing that I like when I first came in, there were definitely people that were way further along in their business and I learned from them. Like it's amazing what you can learn from them too. So yeah, I love that you can get that kind of connection with so many different people, whether they're a beginning or far in their business. You get met at every different level in the program, no matter what.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's so inspiring to be able to hear from others who are a couple steps ahead of you of like, yeah, because it really like, if anything, it also gives you evidence of like, that's possible for me. If that other person is experiencing it, then I can have it. What was it that they did or learned in this program that got them there? And knowing that that can be your path too can be super inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, it pushed me. I know without a doubt, it pushed me. There were some people way for when I first got in it, and I'm like, I'm gonna do that. So it
Yeah.
pushed me more. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're that for other people, which is like a full circle moment. Yeah. Amazing. Well, I'm just so happy for you and all of your successes and all your continued successes, and can't wait to hear how things go throughout the rest of the year. Maybe we can do some sort of little update and a post
Yeah.
at the end of the year, wherever you land with stuff. But yeah, thank you again so much for your time. I so appreciate you. I know you are busy and also honoring your personal time. So we just
Love it.
appreciate you taking that out of your schedule.
You bet.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kristen.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Everyone.